Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of FinTech Fridays. I am super excited to have longtime friend Rob Chrane. Rob's the founder of Down Payment Resource, uh, and really pleased to have Rob here because DPA is cool. Rob, welcome.
Hey, Brian, thank you. I appreciate you having me. And you're right, it's definitely cool. So we'll keep spreading that word.
You and I have had a lot of conversations over the years, and first of all, I'm just super happy for the growth that you guys are having and the impact, probably more so than the growth that your company brings to consumers and those in the industry. And we joke about DPA being cool, but it's in just about every conversation that I'm hearing as it relates, especially to first-time homebuyers. So I applaud your persistence on this mission because it's a noble one and one that's so needed.
Well, thanks, Brian, and back at you. I've been a big admirer since we've met. Big admirer of what you guys are doing with FinLocker, and we're what we do is very compatible. So we have great affinity and respect for what you do, and it's great to have comrades in the in this journey, in this campaign to raise awareness and just help people with financial literacy, especially when it comes to buying homes.
Yeah, I think never has it been more important for platforms, products, people like us to serve the industry, because I think, I'll say this, finally it feels like the industry is catching up to what we've been kind of focused on, and that's not a critique; it's just reality, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I get excited about when I think about your platform and then loan officers in particular, and it's something I talk a lot about on my on LinkedIn, is this idea that as a loan officer, as an originator, as a lender, you could go up and down the continuum. You have to win at the top of the funnel differently today than ever before. And I've always thought that, down payment assistance, products, programs, service, education, and then certainly your platform is such an amazing tool for lenders and loan officers that understand the value of winning at the top of the funnel and having the ability to have meaningful conversations. And in your world, I'm just curious if that's something that's becoming a hotter topic when you're talking with lenders and loan officers, that, is there this concept of winning at the top of the funnel using, down payment assistance programs as, I'll say the hook, and I don't want to say that in a negative way, but
No, I
you
understand.
know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we definitely see that. And you're right about that. The top of the funnel. I mean, it's especially with technology as more and more technology came online to help automate things, to help with communications, through the internet and just reaching people. Um, it's become a race to the customer, a race
Yeah.
to the consumer who can get there first. And so, a lot of what we do is beyond the basics of tracking these programs and the software algorithms and all that kind of stuff, is just how can we position our tools on behalf of our customers to get to as far up the funnel as possible, as far as upstream. And we're lucky because the message naturally fits best at the very beginning. And
Yeah.
not only as soon as somebody, especially first time home buyer, starts to say, we've got to find a home, but really there's a whole another layer, millions of people that don't think home ownership is a possibility.
Right.
And they certainly don't know about these opportunities. So the earlier you can get to them, you're going to start conversations. They're going to be stickier conversations for loan officers, for realtors who can share this information and talk intelligently with home buyers and borrowers about it. So Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that was so exciting to us. Once we had a breakthrough and got on, got our information on Zillow,
Yeah.
Realtor.com, and Redfin, because again, everybody starts their home search online.
Right.
Data shows that for a lot of consumers, and especially first-time home buyers, they may be online, browsing homes online 6, 12, 18 months before they think they can buy.
Yeah.
So what better place? And again, I'll use the same word you used, hook, but hook in only a positive way.
Yeah. And I think you said the word sticky or stickier in your description, and I think that's such a important piece to kind of pull on, because it's one thing to, as a loan officer, to create content. Let's just talk social media for a moment, because there's a lot of loan officers putting great content out on socials. But there's one thing to talk about, the importance of, or the availability of, down payment assistance. But when a loan officer is part of a enterprise, a lender that is a subscriber or an enterprise client of Down Payment Resource, there's more than just talk that's happening. It's like we can really, I can talk about the importance, I can talk about the availability, I can talk about the existence, I can talk about how it works. Oh, and by the way, here's 5 programs that I can facilitate for you based on your situation, your community, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And so it that stickiness is real, because your platform brings, a what if to reality, in my opinion.
No, that's a great point. You're right on that. One of the when we started licensing this down payment resource to MLSs, and just as a side note, it's sort of funny. It's every startup has its pivot story. We started in 2008 for obvious reasons. Our primary market was lenders, but soon after we launched, everything blew up,
Yeah.
and lenders just there wasn't the bandwidth, or they weren't looking for something new to spend money on. So that we pivoted to the point of sale, decided to distribute it through multiple listing services. But one of the very first quotes that we got from a realtor was, um, my buyer. I was working with a home buyer. We used down payment resource. Turns out they were not eligible for any programs because they made too much money, but they bought a home anyway, and they bought that home from me because I told them something that nobody else had told them. So, and then along with that, it's an interesting situation. It's a rare situation where if somebody doesn't qualify for something, that's usually bad news. Well, if somebody doesn't qualify for DPA, that may be good news, because it means they make too much money. They
Right.
may be buying a more expensive home than they thought. And then the last thing along those lines I'll say too, because one of the misperceptions we've battled for 16 plus years now is this myth that these programs are only for low cost, very low cost homes,
Right.
and maybe the programs are only available in targeted census tracts, distressed neighborhoods, and all that kind of stuff. And it's not. And we've got all kinds of data that about how many homes are eligible for the program.
Right.
So that means there are a lot of programs for a lot of homes available to home buyers and borrowers.
I want to come back in a moment and actually talk about the mechanics of the platform, because that's super impressive to me in terms of the scope and scale of what you cover. But you talked about your testimonial from your buyer's agent, and I'm guessing that was a number of years ago.
Yeah,
Um,
I was a
there's
young
been
man back then.
there's been, there's been a lot of news lately here. Last month, August, we had some big news with some changes with the National Association of Realtors and the impact on buyers agents and commissions. One of the things that I talk a lot about with my product, I know I've seen you talk about this with your product, and we both are talking about this in the same way, that it's never been more important for the buyer's agent to demonstrate value to
Yeah,
their customer, their client, their prospective client, right? Because as of August 17th, that value needs to be quantified more so than ever.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Talk a little bit about how, kind of post NAR settlement, how those conversations are happening, in that real estate space, specifically with your platform, your product, and then just down payment assistance in general.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, agents, especially buyers agents, are redefining and literally scrambling to kind of redefine their value propositions and what could be more powerful value than to help somebody either who didn't think they could ever buy a home, help them become a homeowner, or help them become a homeowner sooner than they imagined. So, it's just so obvious. And one of the things we've learned over the years with, all our different integrations with our partners and customers is that there's, I can't think of a simpler, and certainly not a more compelling call to action to put out there than to simply say, down payment help is available. See if you're eligible.
Yeah.
Consumers understand that. They may not understand a lot of our jargon and our
Right.
acronyms, but when you say that, they get it and they engage.
Yeah.
And then something we've also come to appreciate and learn over the years, because we do work with MLSs, therefore we're training thousands of agents a year. The number one request, and we get it every week, sometimes every day, but the number one request we get from real estate agents is, can you tell me loan officers in my market
Mm.
that work with these programs?
Mm.
And, that sort of seems like, on one hand, it seems like so obvious. On the other hand, apparently there's an unmet need there. And so one thing, when we're answering these questions and requests, we say, well, first of all, talk to your current loan officer. They may do these programs, and maybe the topic never came up.
Right.
We'll check with them, but here's some different ways to find lenders who are participating in these programs. So it's just such a huge opportunity for loan officers, and for everybody who's involved with this. It's just such a, this sounds like it's so corny, like it's such a cliche, but it is such a win-win situation. It helps sell more homes, it helps finance more homes, creates more homeowners, and you're building, you're setting yourself up for a customer for life, because they're not going to forget you.
Right.
We have all kinds of case studies and anecdotes that we could talk about of what a difference somebody's made in some lives, in the trajectory of people's lives, not just their financial lives, which is obvious, but just the quality of their life. So,
Right.
it's something you can feel good about. And, it's the old, do good, do well.
That's right. So I would be negligent if I didn't repeat something and almost scream it to the audience. We have a lot of loan officers that follow and watch this podcast. You you just said something that needs to be like yelled from the rooftop. You said daily, multiple times a day, you have inquiries coming from agents, real estate agents, who are wanting to know in their community which loan officers can help consumers with different down payment programs, right? Down payment assistance programs. And I heard that and I almost fell out of my chair, because what that told me was that those agents, and it's not one agent, it's probably not two agents. You said every day you have these questions come in. That just tells me that loan officers at scale are not doing a great job telling their community how they can help home buyers. And so let's go back one more time and just, make sure we let these loan officers know what agents are, the questions that those agents are asking you, because this is big, and this is a massive opportunity for loan officers to stand out in your community by talking about things you have access to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just, when you think about it, uh, the sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I knocked you out of your chair.
Pardon?
I
Yeah,
knocked you out
no.
of your
And,
chair.
as many, this is what we do, what I do every day, and have for every day for so long, and yet it's still astounding,
Yeah.
um, that there's so much opportunity and so much, it's so untapped. But it just from you think about it as a real estate agent. Again, we were saying a minute ago, I'm a buyer's agent. How do I quantify? How do I underscore and enhance my value proposition? Well, I can talk about this, but most agents are not subject matter experts of
Right.
this on this. So sometimes sometimes they're hesitant to rate, to say that, to say down
Sure.
payment help is available. Let's see if you're eligible. But it's because they're like, I don't want to look foolish. I don't have all the answers. That people are going to ask me questions. I don't know the answers. Um, well, the answer is really simple: is, hey, looks like you're eligible for $20,000. Let me introduce you to my lender, who's going to explain to you how this works.
Right.
That's an easy. Anybody can have that conversation. You don't have to. You
Yeah.
don't even have to know what DPA stands for. So again, it's just a way for lenders, for loan officers to position themselves and have something different to talk about. Because you're right, it's not done at scale. So it's just a wide open opportunity. Great way to get on a get into a sales meeting at a real estate office, or just one-on-one appointments. Just I can help you. I can help your clients.
Yeah.
Together we'll create a few more homeowners this year.
Yeah. In my mind, I always try to put myself in the shoes of a local community-based lender or loan officer. And then I think about like all the different ways I can market myself, my company, in my community. And my God, what better way than to go on a webinar or go into a community center or a church, the basement of a local church, and just talk about the funds that are available. They're here. They're in every community. They're literally there. It gets me a little crazy sometimes.
No, I understand. That's what I blame a lot of my craziness on. But and just to put a fine point on the demand from realtors for this, we set up a private Facebook group. It's not our Facebook page, but it's a group called Down Payment Insiders. So if you go to Facebook, um, look up Down Payment Insiders, and just scroll through the posts. We started it for agents to sort of share information, um, and then lenders started picking up on it. So again, when you scroll through every post, I swear, sometimes it's every post, sometimes it's every second or third post, but the majority of the posting is, I'm John, I'm Sally, I'm in Orlando, I'm in Houston, excited to join this group. Anybody know any good loan officers who can help me? And just to convince yourself, don't take my word for it. Convince yourself. Go to Down Payment Insiders, and you'll see, and it'll get you pretty excited.
Yeah. I wrote it down. I'm going there next. So we have a couple minutes left, Rob. We won't go into the full mechanics, but I think it's important just at a high level if you can explain how down payment resource as a platform kind of works. And
Yeah,
let's do it in the context maybe of a lender.
yeah. So our lender suite of tools has four basic components to it. The engine that drives it all is called our DPA directory, because we're not very clever. We haven't thought of any cute names for it, so we just call it what
It is
it
what it
does.
is.
And the quickest way to describe the DPA directory is what lenders tell us all the time when we demonstrate it for them. They're like, halfway through the demo, they're like, "Oh, this is like all regs for DPA."
There you go.
And this part of it is not even a loan officer tool, certainly not a consumer tool. It's access into our database. It's licensed by the state, so lenders only license whatever states they need, or they can start out small and then add states. It's really
Mm-hmm.
easy to add and subtract states. But it's product managers, people in secondary marketing, capital markets. It's the people that have to go out and find the programs in the footprint, or find programs when they're moving into new markets or have just made an acquisition. and have all the information in their fingertips in one place to find, to vet, onboard, and deploy the DPA programs they want to participate in.
Right.
And there's a ton of filters. So you can look by program type, by program provider type, obviously by geography, state, city, county. Um, uh, and an example of a great filter that we added last year was show me only programs that have no lender participation requirements.
Mm.
So a lender that hasn't done a lot of, whether it's an individual loan officer or a lender who hasn't done a lot of DPA, that's the low hanging fruit. That's the easiest, going to be the easiest stuff. Those are the community seconds.
Right.
And those are the hardest ones to find because they're, municipalities, they're nonprofits and stuff like that. So that's the heart of the platform that feeds everything else. The next piece of the platform, again, simply named the loan officer portal. And it's when a loan officer is working on a transaction, starting at the pre-qual stage, what programs, based on 6 or 7 pieces of information about that borrower and their household and location, what programs does my organization have that fits this transaction?
Right.
Somebody said in terms of our matching tools that it's like Match.com for DPA.
Right.
Just automating a complicated matching process, so you're not sitting there going through matrices and product guidelines and all that kind of stuff. The third piece is the underwriter portal. So again, a loan gets processed, submitted to underwriting. It's got a DPA layered on top of it. The underwriter can go right to that program and see a lot more detail than the loan officer needs to see.
Right.
They could be, 200, up to 200 maybe different data points about that program. And they're all, one of the things we've standardized is the display of the programs, because when a lender is just ad hoc working with different DPAs, everything, all the documents you're getting, all the guidelines you're getting, everything's formatted differently. And so, this is just a way to know that every time I'm looking at a program, I'm going to find the same data point, the same topic in the same place. And then finally, the consumer portal, and that's lenders are licensing a template to create virtually an unlimited number of unique URLs so that they can get that same message, down payment help is available wherever they're marketing digitally, consumers engage with it, and it'll help them, again, help that consumer match with programs that lender is participating in. So it's very specific. And then it'll summarize it and say, you may be eligible for 5 programs and up to whatever the highest dollar amount is. 5 programs and up to $40,000. To get the details, they enter the contact information. It goes to the LO. The LO can actually append that and share that link with their referral partners, which is a great tool to use. And then the last thing I'll say about the that we're really excited about that we launched this spring is the our Encompass integration. So now Encompass users, if they license our tools, it's all automatic. Loan officers in the Encompass dashboard, we're kind of watching the files. We're ingesting all the information from the IRLA and just automatically putting up an alert. Again, our organization has 6 programs that fit this transaction. And then it updates automatically if information about the file, the borrower, the property, whatever, as things change. If a program runs out of money, they get an alert saying, you got to pick another program. So anyway, it's all about operationalizing, simplifying, streamlining the process, but also giving people tools to start conversations.
That's it right there. It's all about starting those conversations, creating that stickiness from the onset. I love it. I'm a big fan, Rob, of what you guys are doing. Appreciate everything you do for our industry and the consumers that we all serve. And I really appreciate you coming on and spending some time with me on my little podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me. And it's always great talking with you. As I said before, I guess we're a mutual admiration society because, you're doing the same thing. And So we appreciate it. And then to your point earlier, it's one of the joys of this has been, and what's been so encouraging is so many vendors who have the same vision of
Right.
how to help home buyers and how to make things more affordable. And that's where the change comes. It comes from the outside, not
Yeah.
necessarily from within. And so it's really great to kind of have a not to be sexist, but a band of brothers, a band of brothers and sisters.
There you go. I love it. Thanks again, Rob. Thank you all for tuning in. Come back in 2 weeks for our next episode of FinTech Fridays.